Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to Anime King 3. And today I'm going to be giving you part 19 of What If Naruto Had the 6-Eye Sharingan. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out What If Naruto fused with Carnage and Venom. And enjoy that guys. And remember, if you're new, yes I indeed have 4 channels which I post What If on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and smash that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. I post a brand new episode of What If, well a movie to be exact. What if Naruto was a starting member of the Justice League? And over on Anime Prince I post a brand new series on What If Naruto was sent to the Fear of the Walking Dead universe. So go ahead and enjoy those guys. So without further ado, what is it, we jump right into this. Begin now guys. So, the last part that we left off, Sai had no option but to report what he found to Tsunade. Danzo-sama was now dead, his master, his leader. However, his duty was to Konoha always, and Tsunade must know of that. Therefore, Tsunade, Shikaku, and Tatsumi along with their dog, Kuramaru, made their way down there. As they came across the terrifying scene, it was nothing but destruction and chaos everywhere. Death all over. The body of Danzo Shamira missing one of his arms, and his head sliced off was on the ground. The man was dead. Tsunade now was more confused about Naruto, role in all of this. He ended Danzo's life. Unlike many, Tsunade knew what kind of man Danzo was. And she remembered the way that Naruto spoke about him in their little meeting. The tone that he used, while it was not angry, there was an underlying tone when he spoke about the man, saying that the village would be better off with him gone. Therefore, she couldn't understand what was Naruto's motive. What did he gain from doing this? As she realized that things were now set in a way where she would have to brand him as a criminal, seeing that he and Sasuke had killed one of the Hidden Leaf elders. People would not see them doing anything heroic. To everyone else, they were monsters who had killed an old man that had fought for Konoha. So she couldn't understand what they were doing in the slightest. As they came across something though, it was a seal facility wall with different DNAs of different members that was from this village, and some of them were missing. We then skipped towards Sasuke, who was lying on a bed unconscious. Karin was overseeing the procedure that was taking place. They had infused the first Hokage cell, the Senju cell, inside of Sasuke to ensure that his body would reach its full potential. The merging of the Senju and the Uchiha would therefore bring forward the sage himself. Normally this would have taken years. However, Karin was astonished when Naruto sped up the process by allowing the cells to bond with Sasuke chakra. But Sasuke will be out for some time as his body adjusts. But still, it was a lot better than years. Naruto was truly some kind of miracle worker. As she could feel Sasuke getting stronger, his chakra increasing. His body was assimilating. We then skipped some time to find Itachi Uchiha in a bar. Itachi was never one for drinking, but there was just so much problems that was currently taking place. For one, he knew about what happened at Konoha, so that means that somehow Naruto and Sasuke found out about what he truly did. That meant his option of shielding him away from what the clan had planned and everything was now gone. He doesn't know where to go from now. His sickness was increasing. His death was coming. To his utter shock though, Naruto arrived. Itachi was taken aback when Naruto arrived on the scene. He never expected this in the slightest. Naruto was here. As Naruto sat down beside him, it's time that they talk. Itachi did not even bother asking how he found him. They talk. Naruto talked to him like everything was normal. They indeed know everything. But Naruto could tell that Itachi was dying. But that was something that he wanted after all. That is why he did not say anything regarding his, treatment or anything like that. After all, it was his penance to pay. Before Naruto left after their conversation, Itachi I morphed to the Mangekyou. After that, Naruto left. Itachi left in a parting gift for him. For the both of his brothers. As they were onto something that would benefit the world. His tragedy might have just saved this world. The least he could do was make up to them. And that was by erasing the remaining Akatsuki members. A few days later though, Hidan and Kakazu were making their way. That was until Kakazu attacked Hidan, as he knocked him down. Before Hidan could do anything, he was impaled all over. As Naruto stood there, Naruto then warped Hidan away. He then gave Kakazu a scroll. Kakazu was Naruto's spy in the Akatsuki. The only reason why Kakazu worked for the Akatsuki was because Pain had forced him to do so, because he defeated him. However, Kakazu was able to see something greater than the man that called himself a god. And knowing that if he did not join his side, his existence would be erased. He saw the future from just looking into those eyes, and he could tell what was coming. As Naruto handed him over a sizable fortune for him to go, as Kakazu was not going to be seen again if he had anything to say about it. A few days later, the word that Jiraiya got killed reached a hidden leaf. Mito was sad, incredibly so. She lost her mentor, her father figure. Yes, she was greatly saddened by that. She went on to train with the Toads to get stronger. While that was going on, Itachi faced off against Kisame and killed him. Now the Akatsuki was really lacking, as the members were falling one after another. But that was not all. The masked men appeared. Both him and Itachi fought. Itachi lost. There was just too much for him to keep up anymore. However, a crow made its way towards Naruto and Sasuke, as the Sharingan in his eye connected to theirs, giving them a glimpse of everything that their older brother did for them. The masked man was truly pissed off by now, as he came to the conclusion that the Uchihas were behind this. He knew that Itachi might do something like this, that is why he had made Kisame watch him, but in the end Kisame was taken down by Itachi frightening power even in his weakened state. So with that, some more time passed. Pain launched an assault against the village, bringing down the force of the 6 paths on it. The toad that was left to alert Mito quickly alerted her, and she arrived. Tsunade was on the tower with Pain as Mito arrived with a new coat, looking rather stylish. But she has grown in ways of the sage as well. She was ready to throw down. That was until Tsunade Eyes gained the 6-eye Sharingan, confusing everyone. So yeah guys, basically that's what left off. You guys can switch across the place, check it out for yourself. So this way we jump right into this brand new episode begin. Now guys, Tsunade Senju opened her eyes. She was heavily confused. She stood in a strange area. The place was white. There was no ground, no ceiling, nothing. It was just all-encompassing. A bit overwhelming at first. "Where am I?" she said, her voice echoing like she was in some kind of a tunnel. A vast tunnel. "I told you that we'll be seeing each other soon, didn't I?" Tsunade spun around as she saw you. as Naruto was standing there, calmly. What's going on? What did you do? How did I get here? The last thing she remembered was on the tower, with Pain and Mito arrive. Pain had just attacked the village, but Mito arrived just in time before he could cause too much mayhem. I told you this before. In terms of chakra, there is no one in this planet that understands it better than me. Tsunade clenched her fists. You were able to fool the Hyugas. How? Their eyes cannot see what my eyes can see. Let me out of here. I need to protect the village. Tsunade narrowed her eyes. I know what you're thinking. No. I'm not keeping you here because I'm working with the Akatsuki. Far from it. The reason you're here is because I'll be borrowing your body for a moment. Borrowing my what? When we had our conversation, I was able to siphon off a portion of my chakra and implant it into you. Tsunade was taken aback by that. When? How? Naruto's eyes glanced up towards her forehead, but she could not see because of the glasses as he spoke. Nice seal you got there. That's impossible. I would have noticed. Not if I made my chakra just like yours. You what? Naruto appeared in front of her. Tsunade remained calm as she looked at him. I told you. No one else can see chakra or I see chakra. All you felt was your chakra entering your system, but it was indeed mine. Tell me, don't you feel a little bit different, he said. When she was sending out her chakra to make sure that everyone was safe, she did feel something, but as she looked at him, you were able to do all of this in the interrogation room. Exactly. Time and time again, he was proven to be a bigger threat than she thought, as she was underestimating him, but he was far too dangerous. As I said before, I wish you no harm, said Naruto. In fact, I'm here to help the Hidden Leaf. I will make sure that it does not fall by the hands of this Pain. Why would you do that? Aren't you our enemy, said Tsunade, as she narrowed her gaze towards him, trying to figure him out. He opened his mouth, but he closed it soon after. I'll return control back to you once I'm done. With that, he vanished, leaving Tsunade there to think. As she could not escape, she was trapped inside her own body to believe that he was able to do this to her. Just how powerful was he? In the outside world, time had not moved. The space that they were in, it was just a fraction. Bachan? Mito said, confused by Tsunade's eyes that were showing Naruto's eyes, with the 5 totem in each. Who are you? The voice of Tendo spoke up. Mito glanced towards Pain, as his Rinnegan glanced towards Tsunade. He could not see her eyes, but he could feel it, the difference, a change. That is when she turned. Uchiha. Pain spoke up. So you're the leader of the Akatsuki, huh? Said Tsunade. Her mannerism seemed different. The way she walked. Her voice was the same, but there was... What's going on? Mito was confused. The toads were on her shoulder. They were not attached because of the fox, but they were there. I don't think that is... Tsunade-chan, Ma said. I don't think so either, said Pa. Then who is it? Has he taken over her body? I don't think so either, said Pa, noticing the interaction between them. Your involvement in all of this was so insignificant. I ignored the possibilities. But I was right, aren't I? You're the one that is beating me to the tail pieces. Uchiha. Wait, Uchiha? Naruto? Mito said. Was it really him? He did not answer as he looked towards her. As his eyes looked her up and down. But she felt like Tsunade was just looking at her. But it was him. He seemed to approve She didn't know why she felt that way, but there was just something about his gaze. The Rinnegan was able to pick up on the chakra that was leaving Tsunade's body. "You think you can control me," said Pain. "You foolish child. You are out of your league. If you think that you can..." Pain was cut off as he was dragged off the roof. His body soared through the sky at blinding speeds. Not just him, 5 others. They were all pulled out of the village. Mito's eyes were wide in shock as one of them smashed right into the wall, but it broke right through it, throwing them far and deep into the forest. In a second, Tsunade was beside Mito as she wrapped the armor on her waist. "It's gonna be alright." That stopped Mito from protesting. As they flew up in the sky, Mito looked towards him. "It's you, isn't it? You're helping us." However, he did not look at her. He just kept on moving with her until they arrived a distance away where all the Pains had crash landed. Meanwhile, how is this possible? Nagato thought to himself. He had tried to repel it. He had tried to stop the force, but he could not. This boy was far more dangerous than he ever thought. Naruto was able to hijack the signature that Nagato was sending out, the chakra that was being emitted to the rods. As Naruto was able to pinpoint it where the real Pain was located, he could tell that they were fakes just by looking at them. Upon doing that, he was able to push the signature in the opposite direction, therefore blasting the Pains right out of Konoha by controlling the chakra flow. Nagato was still in full control of their body though, as he would not allow that to happen again as he strengthened his control. He never thought that the boy was capable of something like that. And how did he have control over the Hokage's body? This made no sense. Back out on the field, the 6 Pains had gotten back to their feet, all of them ready. It doesn't matter, they will still get the 9 tails. As Mito had landed with Tsunade, before she could say anything, their eyes connected. As Mito was brought into the same white scape. "Where am I?" she said. "Mito? Bachan, is that really you?" "Of course it's me," said Tsunade. "Who else looked like this?" "Well, Naruto, that brat took over my body. I'm right here." They turned as they saw him. "Naruto," Mito said. "This is no time for questions," Naruto said, cutting her off. "My chakra is fading and it will disappear soon. The amount of chakra that you use to place in my seal, it couldn't have been a large amount. I'm surprised that it's still holding up for so long," said Tsunade. He simply smiled at her before he reached his hand up and snapped his finger. Tsunade and Mito's mind was assaulted by memories. Not memories per se, but information. What was that?" "You know what it is." "Wait." Tsunade blinked in shock. "It's the Pains. From what we got from Jiraiya, we knew that the real one was not amongst them. But their abilities. How did you..." She looked at Naruto confused. "You said you weren't working with them." "I wasn't. I recently got this information from someone. And this will be your shot to defeat him," he said, looking towards Mito. "You know what he's capable of. You can see the paths and what their powers bring, and the destruction that he will cause if you fail." She was just about to tell him that she would not fail until he spoke up. "However, I know you won't fail," he said. That brought a smile to her face as he started to fade. "This is not over," she said. "Once I'm done with him, I'll find you. And that's a promise. And you know I never break my promises." He looked at her. His expression was calm but peaceful at the same time. And bam, they were back in the real world. It seems like no time had passed. "Bachan, you okay?" "Yes, I'm just fine," said Tsunade. "Alright, I need you to stand back. What? This is my fight, said Mito. They're here for me. Just stay out of this one. I'll handle them. I promise. I'm gonna be Hokage someday after all. I'll protect the village. With my last breath if I have to. Tsunade was extremely proud of hearing that. As Ma and Pa were on their shoulders. Pa giving her a thumbs up. That everything will be fine. Alright, Mito. You have my trust. Tsunade jumped back. Not before summoning a clone to leave the clone behind. As she went to rally the village to make sure that they would not be invaded like this again. She had to do everything quickly and make sure that Mito was fine. Her clone would inform her. As she rushed back to the village. Meanwhile, as Mito stood there. Old geezer, it's time. Tch, such a disrespectful name, said Paul. As he hopped off her shoulders, he took the scroll with him. As he jumped away. It is pointless, said Pain as he stood where he was. Even after luring us out of the village. This battle will still end in your defeat. Mito clenched her fists. You talk a lot. You should really just shut your mouth, she said. Besides, I'm not here to talk. You killed Jiraiya Sensei, and I'm gonna make you pay. Ah, Jiraiya Sensei. So revenge is your motive. Don't you dare call him like that. You bastard. You're wrong. I have a reason to call him as such. Because he was my sensei too. What? Yes. Both of us were taught by the same man. However, that's not important. Because this ends now. Upon saying that, two of the paths rushed forward. I couldn't agree anymore, said Mito. Her eyes changing. As she entered Sage mode, Paul had quickly reverse summoned the clone that she had, and the clone had dispelled. Paul leaped up in the sky before he took in a deep breath and blew out a massive gust of air. As it spread through the area, it swallowed everything. As the Pains all looked around, Tendo stepped forward. Almighty push, he said, blowing away the dust. As he did so, he pulled back. A chain almost skewered him. The absorption pain shot forward as he reached to destroy the chains by absorbing the chakra out of them. However, the chain slammed into the ground and rooted up, destroying the ground, causing dust and debris to fly everywhere. Something was wrong, Nagato thought to himself. As all of their sight was blocked, the absorption path was the only one that was in close combat. The path turned as Mito was rushing forward. However, he was no slouch as he prepared himself. Mito engaged as she swiped at him, but he ducked. He came up as she pulled back. She then twisted and threw her fist forward. He tilted his head though. All of a sudden his body was blasted through the sky. He slammed through several trees before crashing hard, unresponsive. That was a frog punch, as it had sent him sprawling away. That is when several poof went off. Mito saw a giant bird coming towards her. The bird crashed right into her, until she stomped her feet as she had grabbed the thing. She flipped and landed on its beak. A Rasengan formed in her hand as she drilled it into the thing's skull, poofing it away. The revival path rushed into the woods. However, once he arrived, the body of the absorption path was gone. What's going on? He asked, confused. Nagato couldn't understand. Where did the body go? This is where it landed. Now, Ma, a voice spoke up. Water style, Ma shouted, as her cheeks bulged. Pa, right beside her, as the both of them released. Water from Ma, wind from Pa. The deadly combined projectile spread through the area. However, the revival path leaped up in the sky. That was his big mistake as he looked up alone. A fist came slamming into his skull. His body was launched back towards the ground. Before he could reach though, chains impaled him from behind. Another one gone. Nagito was frowning. "What's going on?" said Konan as she stood beside him. "She knows," Nagito said. That was the only explanation she knew about his abilities. The Uchiha. Itachi. That had to be the case. It had to. He somehow found out. Perhaps Itachi was gathering information, even watching the fight between him and Jiraiya, to find out their ability, their strengths and weaknesses. He did sense someone else in the hidden rain. The chakra was mass. The person had to know about the comes and going of the hidden rain, knowing about his chakra barrier. Mass in their chakra, but still, they were there. But at the time he was preoccupied, and by the time he was ready to search for them, they were already gone. It had to be Itachi. He told the Uchihas, his brothers. This was all a plan, a setup. And now he was already 2 paths, made at 3. As the female path was swallowed, Mito had summoned other toads. He was destroyed inside of the toad's mouth. And the worst thing is, his revival path had been taken down. So that meant he could not bring them back. Back towards the field. I see. You've planned thoroughly for this. But, just because you've taken down a few, it does not mean that you will win. I said, I don't want to talk to you. So just shut the hell up already, she said. She held her hand up to the sky. 2 clones beside her, gathering. A massive amount of chakra as they turned into a massive ball of spinning death. This amount of chakra, said Ma. What is she gonna do with that? She won't be able to get close enough. No more wasting time, said Pain as he held his hand up. But before he could do something though, the ground erupted once again. Debris and dust flying everywhere. Almighty push, he said, blowing away everything. But once the smoke was clear, she was gone. The human path snapped his head around as the robot path jumped in mid-air to meet her halfway. He had a gigantic saw. As they clashed in the air, Mito was using a kunai. Tendo looked around as he doubted that was the real one. After all, where was the technique that she was using? Turning his head, he heard something as he saw the Rasen Shuriken flying towards him. The human path turned towards that Tendo raised his hand. Almighty! Before he could finish, it poof, revealing Mito, another clone, with a roll of explosive in its hand. Push! Tendo said as the explosive went off. But he blasted away from him. The entire ear was torn and ripped apart. She's trying to block our vision. He snapped his head upwards. A colossal explosion went off. The robot path was turned into mince pieces, torn apart. As the dust cleared, Mito was panting. Her sage mode had left her. Tendo wasted no time as he raised his hand, universal pull, yanking her towards him. Her eyes widened as chains came from her back and dug into the ground. As he kept up the pull, as he extended the range and the strength, the ground ripped apart, pulling Mito forward. However, a tongue shot from behind her and wrapped her in her waist as Ma held on to the girl. That is when Pa threw Gamabunta right towards the back. Gamabunta came down his blade, ready to dissect the both of them. That remains. But Tendo extended both of his hands. Enough of this. Almighty push, he said. So far he had not overexerted himself, but now he added a lot more force. Boom! The entire place exploded. The human path making sure to stay close, right inside of his circle so he would not be affected. Gamabunta was sent sailing, so were the other toads. Paul was blasted Ma was sent flying. Mito was sent sailing as she slammed through several trees, hitting and bouncing hard. Tendo wasted no time as he flashed through the foliage. Well, not so anymore because it was now all destroyed. The human path right at his side. Mito got up as she had to duck. The human path threw in a brutal right hook. However, a kick then slammed into her side. Mito winced as she staggered to the side. As the both of them were attacking her, she ducked under another blow. She brought her hands up and blocked a brutal knee. As she stepped back, "Come on, geezer sage," she said. Sweat ran down her forehead as she jumped back, trying to buy some time. 3 rods were hurled towards her. She jumped out of the way. She was brutally punched in the gut as she slammed into the ground. She quickly got up on a handstand and flipped away. She blurred through handstand mid-air as she took in a deep breath. "Wind style. Vacuum prison," she said. As she exhaled, a dome-shaped wind out of her mouth. However, he destroyed it, blowing the technique away. The human path appeared behind her and grabbed her right arm. He sent a fist towards her head, trying to knock her out cold. However, she stomped her feet in the ground and turned, bringing him along with her, as the both of them spun. He gripped her other arm as he tried to pull her down. A chain came from her back and stabbed right into the ground though, as she pulled him instead. She slammed him down hard to the ground, as she pulled her fist back. A Rasengan forming in her hand, she drove it toward his skull, only for her to turn and use it against a rod that Tendo was about to stab her with, as the rod exploded. The Rasengan dissipating soon afterwards. She was knocked off the human path as he knocked her away. She flipped and landed as he rushed towards her. He thrust the rod forward, only for her to smash it to pieces. That is when he saw her eyes. She stepped in his guard and delivered 5 brutal punches that broke his body. As the path staggered back, the blows were devastating. His body seemed like it was about to crumble. She sunk her feet in the ground and applied pressure, so when she drove her final fist forward, the blow was devastating. He was launched, completely destroyed, as he blasted through the foliage. Mito looked up, but right at that moment Tendo decided to focus all his energy on her. She slammed through a couple dozen trees before skidding back. The force devastating, but her body was reinforced by the Senjutsu chakra. She picked herself up as she watched as Tendo was slowly advancing towards her, the final remaining pain. This is it, she thought. Once she was done here, she can face the real pain. She had been conserving her energy because not even Naruto knew what the real pain looked like. If these guys were strong, she had no idea what he was truly capable of. That is why she had not used up her chains, knowing that if they were destroyed by him, it would cut her chakra down, or use up so much jutsus. She had mainly focused on taijutsu. She was moving smart and calculated. She was not moving as brash as usual, as this was a very dangerous fight that could cost her her life. Here he comes, she thought. Pain was moving like a blur as he rushed towards her. The both of them engaged as their hands locked together. She could feel this body was stronger. All the power was sent to this final pain. They clashed, their fists connecting against one another in brutal fashions, showing the amount of force that was sent their way. Pain was sending all of his remaining chakra to this one path. However, her sage mode was able to make her keep up with him. She skidded back after a vicious blow. She retaliated with a vicious one of her own. His head slammed right through a tree as he got up, like he was just a robot, which technically he kind of was. He was once again upon her as their fists clashed. She knew that she could not remain in sage mode for too long. However, she lured him right into her plan. She only had one shot of pulling this off. If she messed up, she was screwed, as she wanted to end this right here and now, which is what she was planning on doing. Pain narrowed his gaze as he saw Another one of her. It was a clone. This one without the Sage Mode markings. As it was just sitting there in the middle of the area. He narrowed his gaze as he noticed there were a couple others. 3 to be exact. Chains exploded from their back and circled them in a dome. They were trapped. He looked around as the chains were twisted and wrapped together. You could barely see the space outside. Light was still getting in, but it was not that bright. He looked at her, but she did something rather foolish. You think that you did something smart by trapping me in here. However, what you have not seemed to realize is, you are also trapped. And I can easily do this. Almighty push, he said. At that brief second, he noticed something. The Sage Mode from her eyes vanished. As all that energy rushed into the clones, the chains wrapped around her body. As she was unaffected, the barrier that they were currently in, it extended. However, the chains were able to stand tall. Tendo was confused. 5 seconds passed as he gathered more chakra from the original sending more chakra. He held both of his hands out. Almighty push! Once again the chains bulged, straining to explode, but they remained where they were. Mito was tightly wrapped by the chains, unmoving, unbudging. He was trapped. He jumped away as a few chains crushed the area where he stood. Hundreds of chains rained down. He tried to escape, but one of them lodged into his arm. 3 seconds. 2, he thought. As he saw Mito in front of him. 1. Almighty push. He held out his right hand. She was blasted as she slammed, head first. Poof! Her body went away. The ground parted by chains. It opened up. The real Mito coming out as she slammed a brutal uppercut under his chin. His head snapped upwards. But she wasn't done as a Rasengan formed in her hand. It's over! She slammed the Rasengan into his face. The chains gave way. As his body was blasted away, his head being destroyed. He slammed into a tree and came to a stop. The clones dispelled as Mito wiped the sweat away from her brow. He was too cocky and overconfident. And she won. As she smirked. However, at that moment, something in the foliage vanished. Something that was watching the match vanished at blinding speeds, underground as fast as it could. Meanwhile, Nagito was panting. Yes, he was panting. She destroyed them. She destroyed them all. Conan looked at him surprised. He lost. Pain lost to this girl. She could not. Suddenly, Conan was attacked. In his lapse of judgment, his moment of weakness after using up so much chakra, he wasn't able to sense it. Conan's body was covered by a black mass that completely wrapped around her. Nagito pulled his hands. Well, he tried to pull his hands from the mechanical walker because they were inside of it. But he did not pull them fast enough as something drive right through his stomach. Black Zetsu, who had carried a spawn of White Zetsu. The White Zetsu coming out of Conan's body and stabbing right into Pain's stomach. Another stab into his shoulder, his right, then his left, stunning the man. Before Pain could do anything, Black Zetsu ran off the White Zetsu onto Pain's body. Conan was able to get control, but before she could do anything, his hand pointed towards her. Her eyes widened as she was blasted through the tree, sending far and deep within the forest. Pain was exhausted and bleeding. As he wasn't able to fight it off, he tried to, but Zetsu was completely taken over. He was planning for this. The only reason why he was able to subdue Konan's chakra was because of the white Zetsus that he had with him that feed off her chakra and push her into submission even though she was fighting so hard. So hard. Slamming his hands together, the Rinnegan pulse. As his hair started to turn white, changing and turning white, losing their color. His skin started to wither even more. His cheeks started sunk even more. Nagato was dying. Yes, he was dying. Back with Mito, she was making her way towards the area where the real pain was located. Because of Naruto, she had the knowledge of where he was. He was in a tree. As she was using her sensory ability, she knew exactly his location as she moved. The Onvus that had been watching the fight had stand down. When Pain arrived in the village, he showed his overwhelming might upon the villagers. A few innocent people got killed in the first attack with the explosives and the summons. However, just a small amount of life had been lost. So this was a win in their case, given that they went up against a man that possessed the Rinnegan. The Onvus that had quickly arrived on the scene, mid-match after Tsunade had told them to move in and to help Mito if she was in a bind, but if she was not, they were not to engage. Tsunade had faith in Mito and she did not want them to become leverage for Pain to use against her. And Tsunade was right, because Mito had dominated Pain. She had come so far, from that little brat that she was now, to a fully mature woman that was able to destroy a Rinnegan user, as she quickly made her way. However, unknown to her, inside the mindscape, the mighty Kyuubi, otherwise known as Kurama, but he kept that to himself, was currently snarling at the being in front of him. Kurama was angry. More than that, he was furious as he looked towards his small human that he wanted to rip apart with his teeth. However, he could not do so. Some time ago, Kurama had saw this boy entering here and he had tried to kill him with his chakra. But he failed because of that girl using her chains. And now here he was, standing like he was untouchable. The person was none other than Naruto. Despite being a distance away, the real Naruto had set precautions in place just in case, knowing that Mito would be a big target. The chakra that was inside of Tsunade, yes, it was used up, but not all of it. As the chakra had been passed on to Mito, the small remaining amount when the both of their minds connected. This was just for Naruto to make sure that she was okay, because he was able to watch the match, something that he wouldn't let her know, but he was worried. However, he realized that he was worried for nothing. She has grown. She has grown a lot and matured into a very powerful kunoichi. Someone who he greatly respects. Well, he respected her from the beginning, so that was no surprise. However, there was another reason why he had remained behind. He needed to talk to the Nine Tails. The beast was making that hard with all of his growling. The reason why the fox could not expel Naruto like any normal parasite was because Naruto had connected himself to Mito's chakra. So, it would be like the Nine Tails trying to attack Mito, which could not happen because of the seal. These conditions were perfect for Naruto. Normally, he would not be able to enter a person's body like this that easily. But because of Tsunade's seal on her forehead, and Mito having a seal on her, Naruto was able to get in. Now he stood in front of the beast that was standing on all four. Glaring down at him is Nine Tails, swaying dangerously behind him. "We need to talk," said Naruto. Kurama growled, "Why don't you come a bit closer, and then we can talk?" "My chakra is fine as long as I remain out here. I'd rather not step into the cell," said Naruto, knowing that his connection with Mito might be cut if he went beyond the bounds of the seal. The fox growled at that, malicious intent radiating off him, straight towards Naruto. "I know you hate me, but your hate is small compared to what is about to happen." The fox looked at him like he was crazy, which was a rather peculiar sight on the face of a Biju. What did you say? I said your hate is small. The fox growled out, releasing a blast, as Naruto here was blown back, but he stood his ground. Naruto looked at him calmly. Sooner than later, creatures from another planet will enter in ours. Their sole purpose is to suck this planet dry and reduce it to nothing. And I'm sure that once they found out about you, they're gonna eat you, said Naruto. Kurama looked at him suspiciously, but he did not say anything. Your father, Hagoromo Osusuke. The fox slammed his paw down. How did someone like you know something like that? As Naruto reached up and held onto the glasses on his face. You think that my eyes are just for show, and that there's no connection, but look at them, said Naruto as he removed his glasses. The fox looked at him, and another person popped into his mind. A older, white-haired individual. A man that was standing alongside Hagoromo. This was Ichigo, the brother of Hagoromo, and the first wielder of those eyes. The fox did know a thing or two. He knew a lot, to be exact, knowing where he originated from. The beast that was said to trump all beasts, the Jubi, a being of pure death and destruction. I had a conversation with Ichigo. I'm sure that you know of him, said Naruto. And he told me what these eyes represent. And they allow me to see what is to come. A chain of events had led to the Osusukes coming to this world. They're looking for the Sage Mother, said Naruto. Kurama went quiet as he did not say anything. I'm sure that you're unaware that she's sealed away. Ichigo and Hagoromo believed that their mother had run away from somebody. A clan, to be more precise. The reason why she was doing everything that she did in the past was to prepare herself, prepare this planet. Because she loved this planet despite her being driven into madness. And therefore she wanted to save it and herself from that idiotic tradition. The Osusukes are a threat that is greater than any other that we faced before. I know you might hate all humans because of the treatment that they put you through. I know you despise us. However, I want to make you a deal. I want to free you. Kurama was taken aback at that, as he had not said anything since Naruto started to talk about the sage and his family. But that part though. What did you say to me? I said I want to make a deal. I want to free you, said Naruto. Meanwhile, in the outside world, Mito was perplexed. What's going on, she thought, as she came across a woman lying unconscious. The woman was unconscious, a small distance away from the real pain location. As she noticed that the woman was wearing the Akatsuki cloak, she summoned a clone and left it behind. She had told the Anvus that watching the match to stay back, that she wanted to do this on her own. They had listened to what she said, and they had not followed her. However, they were not completely gone. She calmly made her way as she arrived towards the entrance. What she saw shocked her. The tree was ripped open, but inside, sitting in a mechanical walker, was a man. He had white hair. His face was so pale. His eyes were leaking blood. His head was hung low. She heard him gasp out slowly as she moved towards him. You're the real pain, aren't you? What's going on? What happened here? He looked up towards her. His eyes were empty, as she realized that the extension was the Rinnegan being transferred to all the other paths. That meant his original Rinnegan was now gone. Tell me what happened, she said. She realized he was barely on his last leg. He had holes punctured through his body. He had been bleeding out for some time. He looked up towards her and muttered one single word. Madara. With that, he fell dead, upright in his sitting position. His head hung low. Mito stood there astonished, as she never expected this in the slightest. And the name that he said, Madara, he couldn't mean Madara Uchiha, the former leader of the Uchiha clan, right? I mean, that's impossible, she thought to herself. How could he be alive? There is no way that he's alive. She thought to herself, confused. Snapping her gaze back out toward the forest, she realized that woman, whoever she is, might have answers. As she made her way outside, it was time for her to head back to Konoha. Time skip. Mito had the woman bound in chains as she was making her way back to the village. The envoys were flanking her from left and right, the ones who had remained, just in case. She was glad that they had trust in her to do what she had to do. However, she sensed multiple people as she was approaching. The closer she got, she saw Tsunade. Standing there was Kakashi and several others. However, behind them was the people of Konoha. As they started cheered and applaud, the news got out that she led the pains away from Konoha, the ones that would have brought death and destruction to the village, and she took them on all by herself in one, saving the village yet again. She and her two teammates in the past had saved the village from the Shikaku, and now she single-handedly saved them all. Mito was astonished as they exploded in cheers. Children rushed up to her. Because of the low death rate, most people were glad for this turn of events, as they prefer this over all of them being slaughtered. But they did lose a couple people. But there will be time to mourn. Yes, there will be. As Mito was stuck in a frenzy, Tsunade stood there, a warm smile on her face. She had got back and made sure all the injured would not die from their wounds. She was reluctant about leaving Mito there with the clone alone, but she had to be the one to go back. After all, her clone could not heal the people. As Mito was surrounded, people cheering her on. She's come so far, Kakashi said, a smile under his mask. He was happy. They were up against a dangerous threat, and she was able to save them all. Time skip. Naruto sat down, as his eyes were closed. All of the viewing had been manipulated by him. The distance did not matter as long as his chakra was out in the world. He knew where it was. He could control it. To an extent because of the distance, but he knew everything. He knew his conversation with the fox was a bit fruitful, but that will be said for a later date. However, as Naruto got to his feet, he noticed Sasuke was sitting ahead of him, observing a book, his Rinnegan eyes on display. "You're finally awake," Sasuke said. "I was not sleeping," said Naruto. "How did it go?" "Is she alright?" Sasuke asked, as Naruto smiled softly. "Yes, she's just fine." "I told you," Sasuke said. "She said that she would be Hokage, and she knew that she had to train hard for that." "I guess you were right," said Naruto. Sasuke knew that Naruto was worried more than him. Sasuke had good faith, Naruto had faith as well, but he was worried for Mito. Sasuke knew that there was something deep between them, beyond his friendship and Mito, and they were the best of friends, but Naruto shared a deeper bond with her. "What else?" Sasuke asked. "I spoke with the fox. I doubt he fully trusts me and ever will because I'm a Uchiha, but we come to an agreement. However, we have a problem," said Naruto. Sasuke looked at him strangely. "From what you said, I thought she won in everything," Sasuke said. "Yes, she did win, but Pain was dead when she arrived." "What do you mean?" "As Itachi had gave them everything. The crow that had came to the boys. It was Itachi's final wish, where he was able to speak to the both of them in a mental escape. He told them everything. Itachi was indeed there when Pain was fighting off against Jiraiya. Thus he was able to gather all information that he had and give it to them. He was also able to kill his partner as well, cutting down the Akatsuki manpower. and not to mention give them detail about this masked man. However, something was bothering Naruto. I was connected to Mito's chakra, so in a way I could feel what was going on outside, and even see, by glimpses. I felt something that she did not seem to feel. It's because of what my chakra can do. And what's that, Sasuke said, hearing the grave undertone. Before Pain died, whoever put him down did something. Spiritual energy spread throughout the entire world. I'm not sure the exact location. It was so fast. There was two sources of energy that merged into one. Revival and sustain. What do you mean, Sasuke said. Naruto stepped forward, your eyes. Remember what I told you Ichigo told me about them. As Sasuke nodded. I've never felt it before, but if I had, I would say I just felt someone being revived. After being dead for years. And what makes you say that? The amount of energy that was used to revitalize the body and sustain it. There is no question about that. Pain was betrayed in the end by one of his own subordinates. I'm not sure what happened after that, but something has been brought back. Something very powerful, said Naruto. How powerful exactly, Sasuke said. Usually, Sasuke would not even think that anything could stop them now because of what Naruto can do in his eyes, but Naruto knew that as well, and yet he was speaking like there was a threat. I'm not sure, said Naruto, as he really had no idea. Sasuke got it wrong though. Naruto was not afraid. The only things that he feared right now was the Atsukis, because despite the information they had on them, which was extremely little, they were an uncommon force, an outsider, a planetary threat. That is why he needed everything to be ready for them. He needed all the power that he can get. So Naruto did not fear a single person on this planet. And anyone that tried to stop him to achieve what he wanted, he will take them down. Because defeating Akatsuki was not only his plan, but he was still not liking things out of his control. Things that weren't supposed to happen. Whoever did this, they made a calculated move by ending Nagato. And now the Renegons were gone. But at least Mito was safe. He can be happy with that for now. And wait for the remaining result of what is going to actually come. For now, they had to gather the remaining tail pieces and get their plan moving. As the both of them left the room, meanwhile, at an unknown location, Zetsu slowly but surely made his way in the darkness. He couldn't believe that actually happened. He was betting and praying that he got the right opportunity. And he waited for the perfect moment. The moment that everything was conflicted and confusing. And he then jumped at it. A moment there he thought that he would have lost and been blown apart. But he won. He succeeded in the end. He's been here from the beginning. And he will not stop until his mother is back. Nothing will stop him, he thought. Obito have proven to be useless. It does not matter his intangibility. The Akatsuki was meant for nothing. They got no tail pieces. The members were dead. The organization was garbage. He wasted so much time on them, when all that they needed was the man that can do it by himself. The man that can take what he wants. As a smile was on Zetsu's face. He was the ultimate manipulator, and he will get what he deserves. He will not stop until Kaguya Otsutsuki walk this earth. That is when he heard footsteps. Up already? Well, that was fast, he said. Reawakening from death from so long is quite a troublesome feeling, the person said, their tone dry. However, there was this power that spoke with it. As a person walked with a strut in their step, an illusion of a deity, despite being kept in the darkness. It was uncommon and strange. There was only a few persons that could have this sense of authority and power with them, have this legendary feature, have this name. He was a ghost that was brought to reap his plans that he had sowed for so long. Given that I was revived back in the States, I presume that everything is going well. Well, actually, there's a problem. A problem. I had to forcefully reawaken you from the dead. Obito has failed in every single way. The organization, it has failed. All the members are dead. And we have no tail beasts. After all these years, and I've woken up to failure, I must say, I'm disappointed in my young protege. That is why I thought it was best to bring you back. And now, to make sure that you will be the one to gain what we seek. Only you can get them. You speak as if they're all in one place. About that, we have a problem. Two Uchiha boys who has been in the background the entire time. I failed to notice that they were the ones going after tail beasts. I'm not sure of their motives, but they have majority of them, and I have no idea where they've stored them away. But that is not the only problem. One of these boys possess the 6-eye Sharingan. What? The 6 eyes? The man said in the darkness. I never thought I would hear that name again. He was surprised. And you say the beast cannot be found. He's hidden them somewhere. I'm not sure where, but I'm sure that you can get the answer out of them. There are still people in the world that they care for, despite trying to hide it. Also, I brought these. Zetsu held up a jar containing 2 floating orbs. Eyeballs. The person finally stepped out of the shadows, revealing Madara Uchiha himself in all of his glory as he looked at the renegades. It's time for Obito to have a seat, so I can achieve what he failed to do, said Madara as he took the jars. Moments later, dressed in his battle armor, long black hair cast straightened, his eyes open to the world, the ghost of the Uchiha stood proudly, ready for the world and what it has to offer. But guys, me and subscribe right here. If you want to see the next part and do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm off and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.